Tell me it's love that I'm feeling. If it's not, then I'm afraid my heart cannot take much more. While you're staring up, I can't take my eyes off you.
Hey loves, I'm Sarah, I'm 20, I'm a queer fangirl who spends too much time on the internet.
I'm Robert, I'm not quite 50, and I don't spend as much time on the internet, but I have seen way too many movies and TV shows. And this is 50v20.
The podcast where we take a look at queer representation in media.
One ship at a time.
Hi, listeners. No.
Hi!
My turn to be awkward.
I feel so out of my element right now.
Yeah, we haven't recorded very often since before, because we knew Heartstopper Season 2 and Red, White, and Royal Blue were coming.
Yeah.
We had taken a break.
Well, we were also...
Those were going to interrupt, and we were busy.
We were recording episodes, back to back, constantly, and we've taken a break in the last, month and a half. So, this is really interesting. Hi, everyone. How's everybody?
And so this one is a special one-off episode about Aristotle and Dante discover the secrets of the universe?
Correct.
Okay, I got the title right this time.
Yes, which is based on a book. I don't remember exactly when
Another one of those books you talked about a lot. And so yesterday, when we're going to the movie, I had no idea what it was about.
Right.
You asked, and I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure it's gay, obviously. Because you had mentioned we'd have to record, so I assumed. That was a given. And then, I don't remember how I asked it, but I'm like, is one of them a vampire?
Oh my god, yeah.
Because I mixed it up with Carry On.
Carry On,
right?
Yeah. So, I read it back around the time it came out, in 2019, I guess. I was in 11th grade. And, that was the year that I was reading all of the gay books. So I actually read Red, White, and Royal Blue and Aristotle and Dante, back to back. So, similar times in my life. What are you so...
I was just double-checking when the book came out, and I got confused because the first result that came up was when the movie came out. And I'm like, that's not when the book came out.
Oh my god. I don't remember when it came out. I remember when I read it. But I think I read it around the time it came out. 2019? 2018?
Who knows? I don't even know. I can't know.
I'm gonna look it up, because, Oh, it came out in 2012, actually.
What a freaking year. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
okay, so it's older. But you read it about the same time as the other ones.
Yeah, I read it in 2019. I was on a kick that year of 11th grade of high school where I was just reading, every gay book that I could find.
And timing-wise, all their movies are coming out. Is there a Carry On one that's about to come out, too?
No, but I wish. Can we start a petition for that? I really want one. I honestly feel like they would do it. It's just, that book has a lot of, magic, vampires, and special effects
more budget.
Things. More budget. That would be difficult to do in a...
One thing this movie... I don't mean this in any bad way, but definitely doesn't have much of a budget.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely can tell it's, independent. Well, not independent, but... Oh, yeah.
Well, no, it's independent. It's the kind of movie that had, 5 company logos at the beginning, because basically... The only way they got it made is a bunch of small people throwing some money.
Those company logos were going on for...
and I'm fine with that. CinemaSins may complain about logos, but generally
fair.
We get more logos because giant distributors aren't putting that movie out. And that's good.
Yeah.
We need more movies.
I'll sit through the minute of logos, if that's what that means.
And one of the producers is the actor... What's his name? Eugenio... Derbez, I think you say his name?
Yes.
Derbez.
And he played the father, right?
He plays Aristotle's father.
Yes.
And I've seen him in a couple movies, and he was in one of the trailers that was before the movie as well.
Oh yeah, was he the teacher?
He was the teacher in the first one. Yeah.
That I actually want to see that movie. Yeah. What's that movie called?
That's an interesting question. Let's see if it's on his IMDb yet, because I have his thing open.
That movie looked really interesting. Radical, yes.
And I've definitely seen him in a couple things. Even in the trailer, I'm like, oh, I've seen that guy. I'm like, I think he does comedy, because at first that trailer didn't look like a comedy. But then there were some funny parts in the trailer, so that movie's probably sort of comedic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even this movie sort of is, in parts, but mostly no.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of funny at parts. I mean, it had me laughing, and it had me sad.
And overall, the movie's good. You can tell that they don't have a lot of budget. There's not a lot of people in this movie. No. Did they also film this during, COVID lockdown stuff?
They did, yeah, okay. They did.
Because it felt like they were even avoiding extras a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And There were definitely a couple spots where it looked like Ari's dialogue had been changed after the fact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where what he now said didn't fit with his mouth, and I'm wondering if that was a rating thing, like they had to make changes to get to PG-13. Because I think when you put... It's not like... If you don't know this movie, you're probably not listening to this episode, but in case you are and wonder, they have a moment of violence in this movie that is kind of realistic and kind of brutal, and it's brief. But when you have that in there, then the MPAA can get a little more restrictive about what they want from you.
Yeah.
And so then they might have been like, what if we cut these swear words? You know, you make compromises. Because you're an independent film who can't just push your weight around.
Yeah, there were a couple scenes of violence where I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah, we see the consequences of it. We see blood.
Yeah.
But not in a, American film fun way.
Right. No, it was very...
So that'll get you... Ratings board they don't have strict rules for that kind of thing, but they have internal standards.
Yeah.
So I think they changed that, and the storm coming on is just some, sort of sound effects, but no clear indication in the sky that a storm is coming. Which, in the desert, is somewhat okay, but then it's still raining when they get back in the city, and it's like, we should see that there's a storm coming.
You know what? As somebody who comes from, a theater background, I don't even care about stuff like that. You tell me it's raining, and I'm like, yeah, it's raining.
No, I'm just saying things I noticed watching the movie. I also noticed some really good things, like either by director's choice or cinematographer's choice, there was really good framing stuff going on early in the film where I was actually noticing, when they draw your eye to the left side of the screen, Ari turns his lights off in his room, and all that's still lit up is his alarm clock.
Oh, yeah.
And then cut to the next shot. That's where your focus is. That's where the focus is of the next shot, is in that same spot on the screen, and it's drawing your eye. And then he'd be moving from right to left on his bike. Mm-hmm. And so then when it would cut, it would continue that same movement. And it's good filmmaking for basic stuff, and that's good. Often you don't notice that. That doesn't mean it's bad that I did notice that. I was just paying attention because I wasn't familiar with... Other than sort of recognizing the guy who plays the father, I wasn't familiar with anyone who worked on this.
Right.
So, kind of...
Well, it was very... everyone who worked on it was, very talented, but it was very independent. A lot of, first-time positions and acting roles for a lot of the people, which I think is really cool, honestly. I like to see that.
Especially when, they're good.
Yeah. Especially when it's, a story like this that's very, raw and, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I don't want to see some, millionaire, teenager who's, super famous, play these, raw characters. I'd rather just see someone who's authentic and maybe has had similar experiences.
Right, because this is basically a movie about, I guess, I wouldn't say Dante's poor, but he's not rich. Mm-hmm. His family definitely has more than Ari's family does. Mm-hmm. But... It's basically just two kids growing up in El Paso, and was it 1987 when the film starts? Mm-hmm. Just growing up, and they hang out at the pool during the summer, and that's where they meet. It's very simple setup for what it is, so that fits.
I think it's... I don't know how much it is, but I think it's pretty autobiographical to the author's experience.
Just from the specificity of the 1987, because I didn't know the plot. Mm-hmm. When that came up on screen, I'm like, is this going to be a movie where, they kind of like each other and they're teenagers, and then they disappear from each other's lives for a little while, and so we jump forward 5 years, when Harry Met Sally kind of structure. Especially when a little ways through the movie, Dante's like, "Yeah, I'm leaving for a year."
You were like, "Got it."
Oh, and then while he's gone, Ari's family's going to have to move, or something's going to happen, so they're not going to see each other until they're adults. But then he just comes back a year later.
Comes back in a year.
And meanwhile, they're writing letters, which, if I remember right, that's the structure of the novel, is a lot of it is their letters back and forth? Or am I mixing it up with some other book?
I wouldn't say the majority of the book is, but part of it is definitely.
Yeah, it also felt like, I'm guessing there's much to the book that isn't in the movie. Structurally, it just felt like they were just kind of skipping through it, or maybe that's the way the book is and it's not very long, I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't read the book in a few years all the way through, but from my perspective, I think the movie is very true to the book and doesn't really cut out any scenes where I was like, oh my god, where's my favorite scene? Everything that needed to be there, I think, was there. And I know some critics have been most of the negative kind of reviews for this movie have been, like, pacing.
Yeah.
But that is kind of how the book is paced.
I mean, it's... What it feels like is that it felt straight out of the book. Is like, maybe most of this is letters back and forth, and that's going to be a lot of it. Then he comes back, and there's a lot more movies still left, and that's fine. Aside from a couple of changes of dialogue, my other complaint was they did the opening scene, Ari is narrating, and then he just doesn't narrate anymore.
just for a little bit.
That's one of my pet peeves about movies, is if you have to put... We didn't need that to say that at all. It's just, we could have figured it out that his life... It's pretty clear with him early on that his life isn't going how he wants it to. The fact that he keeps walking as he's narrating, we see him walking past, like, people his age, and he just kind of looks at them and walks away, and one of them you hear calls him a weirdo, or a freak or something. Mm-hmm. We could get that from context clues.
Yeah.
But it's an unfortunate movie thing, is that they think they need to over-explain stuff. Mm-hmm. And usually that comes from executive producers or people working for the distributors or higher-ups, not the people actually involved.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It went away, and then later there was narration because of the letters, which was interesting because the structure of the movie is we're seeing Ari, but most of the letters are from Dante, because he writes more letters than Ari does.
Yes.
Which is an interesting structure that, like, we're hearing Dante talking about going to a party and meeting a girl, while Ari is trying to interact with a girl.
Right.
And it's a nice juxtaposition of two different versions of the same urge to be normal, straight. Not normal is a bad word for it.
Yeah. Yeah, the book is that way too, where everything's from Ari's perspective the whole time.
So, how do we structure... I don't remember what we did for Red, White, and Royal Blue when we just did a movie one-off.
I think we talked about the plot and our, like, thoughts on the plot.
Yeah, the thoughts on the plot. It starts... It's fun because neither of the characters is out. Mm-hmm. And until the end of the movie, Ari's not even thinking that way, as far as we can tell. He's definitely got some problem with the world and interacting with other people his age. Mm-hmm. He doesn't like doing those things, which leads back to that. It also comes down to what we were talking about with your mother yesterday.
Yeah.
The autistic coding stuff.
Yeah.
Is that they definitely both feel autistic. And I was going to say especially Dante, but then my next line would be also especially Ari, because they're that in very different ways. And we see that from their bedrooms when they interact with each other's bedrooms.
Yeah, no, it's definitely giving neurodivergent. A lot of... There was, like, a whole thing on Tumblr, like, a year or two ago, where everyone was talking about how Ari's, like, definitely autistic, and, like, everyone thinks that. I think Dante kind of, as someone with ADHD, gives more, like, ADHD, but they're both definitely, like, outsider.
I would say, yeah, Dante is ADHD.
Yeah.
He's a little of both.
Yeah.
But his room is definitely more the ADHD thing, where
Yeah.
there's just stuff everywhere. But... Even then, I'm like, aside from its set dressing, so it was put deliberately, it feels like he would know where everything is. Mm-hmm. But his parents still, I forget what they called it. They didn't call it a pigsty, but it was they called it something. He had to clean his room. But then he goes in there and he's just, like, picking up 3 things.
And every time he picks something up, he has to look at it and, like, experience it or read it.
While Arya's there, like, I don't know what to do while you're doing this. He's all awkward just sitting down. So he gives him a book of William Carlos Williams poetry to read. He's like, what?
Yeah. No, that's definitely ADHD people trying to be friends with each other. So true.
And it's a great... I really liked Dante and his parents as characters, because, like, the first time he comes to Ari's house, he brings a book. Because his parents said he shouldn't come empty-handed. So he brings a book on Mexican art.
Ari's parents are just like, oh, thank you.
But then it's like a great development of, like, right up to the end of the story, the way Ari's parents deal with him. Because, you know, backstory, his brother is in prison because he killed someone. Although Ari doesn't know the details of any of that. He just knows his brother did something and is gone. But his parents, they don't, especially the father, doesn't connect with him very well. But it absolutely tries. The next time we see that book, he shows him a piece of art in it and comments on it. He's like, what do you think?
I know.
And, like, that's wonderful. You know, he's showing him a mural and wants to get his thoughts. And in the movie, we see a few murals because that's part of Texas and Mexican culture.
I know. Honestly, props to the father. Like, and as an actor, I was getting so emotional. Like, he barely has any lines, but I was just like, oh, like he's trying, but it's like not working.
Even
so
in the truck where they're talking, and Ari's like, "Yeah, we commented on how they don't talk much." He's like, "We're talking right now." It's like, yeah, that's a good point. You are.
Yeah.
He makes an effort, and it's sad because like Ari will say goodnight to his mother, and then his father says something, and he just he doesn't respond. Mm-hmm. Only by the end of the movie do we know for sure what that is. It's because his brother went to prison because he killed a trans prostitute when he found out it wasn't, a quote-unquote woman. And there's an ongoing thing with the family and LGBT stuff because his aunt, as we can deduce early on, but he doesn't know, lived with a woman for years, and a lot of their family doesn't like her and approve of her.
Yeah.
But they do.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're about the only people to go to her funeral.
Yeah.
And so then they also kind of know, Ari is gay, and this Dante kid that he just became friends with is clearly he's into.
Yeah. Even
though Ari doesn't realize it himself, because like he's so far denying it, he can't even think about it. Which is an interesting structure for that story, is that he doesn't know. The ending, I think, structurally is a little abrupt because of that. But it works. Because it's kind of rom-com. Oh shit, I have feelings. It's like a rom-com where best friends realize they love each other. Of course, it's the last scene where one of them is like, oh, that's the person I've loved the whole time.
Yeah.
And so they go through with them. If anything, that structure could work better if we knew a little bit more about Daniel, the guy that Dante goes out with briefly. Mm-hmm. Or we only experience him from Ari's perspective.
Right. I was going to say, like, we only know as much as Ari knows. Oh,
he's that guy in his room talking to him, and he's the guy who ran away when someone threatened to beat him up.
Yeah.
And did beat him up. Or we don't know a lot about, what's her name? Elena. Mm-hmm. We know she came over to him, but so did Gina, and I don't know if they ever said the other girl's name. It's always with Gina.
I forgot.
But you suspect they're also a couple.
I thought maybe. I don't know.
This isn't Heartstopper. Not everyone has
but they were sitting in the car together, and then didn't Ari say something like, "Oh, are you two like going out?" Like when he went up to the car. Because they were, like, sitting in the car close together.
That was, yeah.
And I was like, maybe they are. I don't know. They're pretty close.
and they're definitely weirdly attached to him, even though he doesn't seem to want to interact with them ever.
Yeah. It's, like, not interested.
They just come over and want to know, what happened to your leg,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's got a bit of that where I think if it had more of a budget or more of time, if this was filmed during lockdown adjacent, where they could have spent more time with a few of the other characters in some way. It does work that it's a limited perspective. That everything is basically from Ari's point of view. I don't think we even get any scenes without him.
No.
We might get a shot, but then he comes into the scene.
Yeah.
So that works. And the movie commits to it. That's basically the plot. Is it they meet at the pool because Ari can't swim, and then they hang out a lot. And then he saves Dante from getting hit by a car.
Because he's trying to rescue a bird.
Yeah, and then Dante leaves town for a year. They both try to hook up with girls in the meantime. It doesn't go well. Mm-hmm.
But Dante's, like, pretty, like... I don't know, he figures it out quite fast, honestly.
Yeah, I like his letter where he's like, he kissed the girl and she asked him, like, when you're kissing me, are you kissing another girl or are you kissing a boy?
Yeah.
And then he's just like, outright, I don't want you to hate me. Like, in the letter to Ari is like, I don't want you to hate me, but that's what I want.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Ari's problem with the girl isn't really his problem. It's hers. Mm-hmm. Is that she's got another boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And kisses him anyway, which just pisses him off.
Yeah.
Because he's got anger issues.
Yeah.
Which then come out bigger when Dante back in town gets beat up. Very badly. Mm-hmm. By 4 guys.
Well, at this point, like, Ari and Dante aren't even friends.
Right, it's right after Ari rejects him.
Yeah.
Which is sad, because he's like, yeah, promise not to run away if you can't be friends with me. And then the first thing he does is because... It's. I don't know if that's a bad move on Dante's part in the first place.
I mean, Dante was kind of pushing him a little.
Getting him to practice kissing with him that's a lot if Ari hasn't expressed any of that yet.
Right.
But, you know, he's trying.
I know. It was so sad, like, when he started, like, or Ari started saying all, like, that mean stuff to Dante, like, when he was leaving the car, like, you're disgusting and all of that. I was like, no, honey, no. But, you know.
Well, yeah, that also fits where, probably from the autobiographical segment of it, because the author is, what's his name?
Benjamin Alire.
Benjamin Alire Science? I don't know how you pronounce it exactly, but definitely looks like he's also maybe like some form of Hispanic Mexican name, and that's a whole thing of we have toxic masculinity is what we call our version, but machismo is a big thing, and especially essays I read about it in school years ago that will probably equate to like the 80s, or he makes a joke early in the film where he makes a joke about how he's going to go join a gang.
Oh, yeah.
And his mother is very serious, like, no. Don't even joke about that.
Right.
But it's very much like his anger feels like a lot of that is he can't be gay because he has to be a man, and he's got all this anger because he can't relate to his parents because they never talk about his brother, and he doesn't even know how to ask them about these things or do anything about it. Which,
like, the dialogue about that is really interesting and also goes deeper in the book, but, like, of how Dante is like, oh, I don't really feel like I fit in with my, like, Mexican culture. Yeah. Whereas Ari's, like, trying harder to fit in with what he thinks he has to fit in.
Even though he doesn't fit in with any of the people.
Right.
So it's like he's trying to fit into something where he doesn't like any of it, which also goes to the autism thing.
Yeah. He's like, oh, this is just what I'm supposed to do. This is what I gotta do, so I'm gonna do it. But no, you can be both. You can be in your culture and also queer, gay, whatever. Yeah. And people will accept you. It's honestly really interesting how both of the parents, Ari's parents and Dante's parents, they both seem pretty chill as far as being gay in the 80s. Yeah. Like, they were, like, chill about it. I think Dante's parents might have been kind of like, well, they were just emotional because he got beat up. Yeah. But, so...
They seem to be chill with anything. Yeah. They're like, you know, liberal college professor people. I don't know if the mother is, but the father, that's why they leave town for a year. Yeah. Is he's teaching at a place in Chicago. And teaching art. Mm-hmm. So he's a very liberal parent. They're very supportive of anything that Dante's going to do.
I'm sure he's seen some gay art.
And Ari's family, we don't really find out until the end. Aside from the negative part with the brother, they were the only family members to support the aunt who was the mother's sister or the father's sister. I don't think that ever came out.
The mother's, I believe.
Because she does interact directly with the mother in one scene when they laugh about how he called her old. Yeah. Like, they were supportive of that. So there's definitely a history of them being the lone family members to do that. Which for the 80s is, remarkable.
Yeah. Which, like, explains kind of how awful the situation is with the brother, because it wasn't like the parents, like, taught the brother, like, right. Oh, we're against this kind of thing, or whatever. I think the brother's kind of, like, a symbol for, like, leaning into that, like, masculinity and the violence that, like, Ari could have. Yeah. But he decides not to go that direction.
Right. The one time in the movie Ari does, give in to being violent, it's in the opposite direction. It's still bad. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't just go and beat someone up that much. Regardless, but he's beating up the person who beat up Dante. So.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure one of the scenes they cut out of the movie is, like, in the book, Dante's, like, not happy with Ari that he did that. Mm. Like, Ari's like, I was defending you. Yeah. And Dante's like, I would never ask you to defend me by, like, hitting someone's head on concrete. Right. Like, that's not what I want.
And I suspect that's a big part of his violence and anger would go away after the end of what we see in the movie, because he's finally admitting who he is and being that person. Even if the only support he's going to have is the 4 parents and, I guess, Gina and the other girl. Yeah. Which, that's still pretty good. And get the support you can get. unfortunately, you can't always get it from everyone. And in the 80s, you wouldn't get it from a lot of everyone. So, good luck to them. I understand there's a second book. You didn't read it? Right?
I've read parts of it. It's not for me. I don't like sequels where it's like the first book ended on a note where I'm happy with an ending.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I don't really
it's
like
not like a big plot-driven thing where we need more of them. We know what happened.
Right. And I don't really like the sequel because they, like, break up and it's, like, a whole... I'm like, no, the first book ended happy. Like, let's just leave it happy. Like, will they stay together forever? I don't know. They're, like, 16. But we don't need to read about them breaking up. Like, it doesn't really... I don't know. I feel
if you were going to make a sequel,
fine.
then you do what I was thinking it might be early on, is, like, they kind of drift out of each other's lives again.
And then...
From years later.
Come back.
Then you could do sequels, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like one of the trailers we got, the movie with the divorced couple at the airport.
Oh, yeah.
David Duchovny and Meg Ryan.
Yeah. See, that's interesting.
That kind of structure, that can be fun. But I'm not even finding what the sequel's about otherwise. But I'm guessing it's just that. It doesn't suddenly turn into some plot-driven thing.
It's basically like them growing up, and then I believe Dante gets into some sort of art school program that is, like, away, and they're
then Tao has trouble dealing with it.
Right, yeah, it's Heartstopper. No, but they, like, have long-distance troubles. It's just about growing up. I think that maybe might have been autobiographical,
maybe that's part of it.
But it just wasn't as relatable and, like, sweet to read. So people struggled with it.
Like, if you had them going off to... Is the painting he wants to see, is it in the Louvre? Also Heartstopper?
Heartstopper. All of these things...
If we got a flash forward, if they were old enough, like, they went on that trip, like, the end of Say Anything, that's the thing, is they're flying together to go to art school. Mm-hmm. But she's going to art school. He's still going to be a kickboxer.
Yeah.
But... Then that'd be fine, but we don't need a whole book for that.
We don't.
Because I'm guessing it's the same structure as they separate and there's letters.
It's okay. I don't think they're gonna make a sequel movie.
What are the movies only gonna be in theaters for a weekend and then streaming at some point?
I think it'll be streaming or available for purchase.
Which listeners should notice I have no clips.
Yeah. No, we saw it in theaters.
No notes and no clips. Saw it at the theater.
We saw it at the theater yesterday. Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad that they're making, like, more LGBT plus movies based on books and all these things. It's also really, even though this movie was kind of sad and angsty, it's nice to see movies where, like, the two main gay people aren't dying and, like, there is hope and it's, like, kind of sweet.
Yeah, that, because I didn't know the plot. Also, when we cut from the accident with the car to Ari in the hospital, I'm like, oh shit, did Dante die? Did he just fail to save him and broke his leg in the process? Like, that's not good.
Yeah, that's what you think because this is Bury Your Gays, the podcast, where everyone dies.
The rest of the book is him dealing, like, figuring out his own life with, like, Dante's ghost talking to him or some shit. I don't know.
But no, I think we've definitely evolved a little bit as a society because when we talk about movies and shows from the past, there's always gay people dying. But the three things that we've talked about that came out recently, no one died. So
right, which is
that's good. Yeah. They realized that they needed to stop burying
There are
gays.
still things coming out where they die.
Oh, absolutely.
And some of those are good.
And there always will be.
I loved the American Horror Story episode and the what was it called?
Are you talking about
what was that season called?
It wasn't Apocalypse.
No, it was the one after 1984 with all the gay people, and it was basically a metaphor for AIDS, and then became literally about AIDS.
Okay, can we just? We're not talking about American Horror Story, but can we just talk about it for a second? Because why does American Horror Story? They like go back and forth between doing like the best seasons of television I've ever seen in my life and the worst seasons of television I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. It's because it's an anthology. They come up with an idea, weird. and then for you, there's also like some casting choices. Like the trailer for the new season looks cool, but you probably won't watch it because Emma Roberts is the lead.
Everyone,
but they have a new trailer out.
The
and
listeners,
like, this looks fun.
The listeners don't know about that.
They do now.
Which I don't like Emma Roberts. Don't send her hate. I don't condone any hate.
No, it's
I'm
fine.
just not a fan. Oh my god. No, but wait, so I saw the trailer for the new season. It looks crazy. It's literally...
The longer trailer where you actually see what it's about?
It's Kim Kardashian and Emma Roberts?
Yeah.
Like, what the... What?
Well, they're playing sort of versions of themselves. Not literally,
so
but like
weird.
they're playing famous people. She's famous on the verge of being more famous, but she gets pregnant.
I'm gonna watch it.
And then some people are apparently trying to turn her baby while it's still inside her into some sort of monster. Or something. Or it's a whole Rosemary's Baby thing where it could just be imaginary.
I'm gonna watch it, but I think it looks absolutely bonkers.
I don't know why there was a but in that sentence. It should have been because it looks absolutely bonkers. It's American Horror Story.
Because it looks
the
absolutely
more bonkers is usually the
No,
best
but my
stuff.
favorite... Okay, what's your...
Favorite season of American Horror Story?
favorite season
Ooh.
of American Horror Story? I just need to talk about it because there's not enough gay people in that show to do a whole season. Well, I guess...
Yeah, there is. There's a whole season of that show that is focused on gay characters.
I didn't watch that one. Okay.
Literally every character in that season is gay.
What's your favorite season of American Horror Story?
Well, I'd say that one's up there because the entire season works.
Because the entire season's gay?
Well, another problem... Not that. I mean,
why?
That's useful. But that wouldn't be why it'd be my favorite. But no, American Horror Story, its other problem is often halfway through the season, it's like they give up on the idea they had set up
Yeah.
and switch to something else. Roanoke does that horribly. Horribly. Oh, fuck. Roanoke is so bad. And it could have been so good. Parts of it were amazing. Similar to Asylum. Parts of Asylum, like every piece of Asylum is great.
Yeah,
But the
together,
season as a
it's
whole,
kinda
it
weird.
does not cohere at all.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people like Coven. That's one where I think Coven switches directions halfway through, and then I'm like, I'm not sure I cared.
I'm not really a Coven fan.
I like the beginning of Coven, and I like when they revisited the characters from Coven in later seasons. Even in Apocalypse, that part of Apocalypse was pretty good.
My favorite American Horror Story seasons are Murder House and the Red Tide.
Red Tide was the first half of that two-part.
Yeah, it was the one with the pills.
And as long as you don't watch the last episode of Red Tide.
Yeah, I honestly thought the episode before that was the last
If it
episode.
ended
should have
before
ended
they
there.
went to LA, it would have been perfect.
Yeah, that last episode of Red Tide is weird.
And then it's like, let's have one more episode and then ruin it. It's like they wrote that episode and then decided to make it the second half a different story, but forgot to delete that episode. Because they didn't need it.
Yeah, it was
If you're going to switch plot, switch plot.
It was odd. But the majority of that season was great. And Murder House, love that forever.
But I like the ones that cohere better. Murder House is fairly coherent all the way through. I still can't remember what they called it, but the gay season from last year.
The gay season. Yes, the gay season.
I have no memory of what it was called.
Half of this episode is going to be American Horror Story.
That's fine. 1984 coheres really well and is entertaining. I'm not sure if it's good, but it is so entertaining. You didn't watch that one. That's set at like a summer camp in the 80s and basically a slasher film.
No, I didn't watch.
Plus the Night Stalker is there, because why not?
No. Yeah. Anyway, but yes, we're going to watch... Well, we won't talk about it probably because it's not gay. But we'll watch the new season with Kim Kardashian.
Well, I can get you to watch that last one and we can talk about that. If I remember what it is. AHS Gay Season.
AHS Gay Season.
Oh, it's just called NYC. That's why I couldn't remember it. Headline from Gay Times. American Horror Story NYC is the gayest season yet, but is it any good? Yeah, it was awesome. And freaking sad. But that was definitely Bury Your Gays. They could have just called the season Bury Your Gays.
They should have. Then I would have watched it. I watch everything where they bury their gays.
That also might have got them more viewership from the non-gays and the anti-gays, because they're like,
Right.
oh, they're all gonna die? I'm in.
Right.
But it's American Horror Story. Everyone dies.
Yeah.
Unless they're played by, what's-her-face? Because she now has, like, 5 recurring characters. That's Sarah Polly? No, not Sarah
Sarah
Polly.
Paulson?
Sarah Paulson. Sorry, I'm mixing up.
She died in Red Tide.
But she was also alive in Red Tide, because doesn't her reporter character show up in an episode? Like the LA finale, I think she shows up.
She does everything.
She's so many characters that keep coming back, and I'm like, wait, which one is she now?
Okay, but Aristotle and Dante. Great movie.
It's not about Aristotle or Dante. As in,
I mean, it is.
as in the historical figures. The philosophers.
Do we
and
like the
authors.
names?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I even like that they have a conversation about it. That's kind of like their meet cute is side of the pool. Yeah, my name's Dante, and Ari laughs because his name's Aristotle.
Yeah.
Although his name is Angel, Aristotle. But when we see the picture of his brother, it's labeled as Angel Bernardo. Like, did they give both brothers the first name Angel?
Maybe.
It's interesting.
And then go by their middle name?
Yeah. Like they're very Catholic, I guess. Or they were. Before they decided to side with
the game.
The ant.
It was a journey for them. I want to see the movie from the parents' perspective. They fall out of love with Catholicism.
It's like, we're in Texas in the 80s, but we are not going for Christianity anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm done.
That's great.
But yeah, no, this isn't a great commercial because I don't know where to watch it, but it'll stream or you can buy it at some point.
Yeah, I
you should
assume
watch
it'll
it.
be streaming soon enough. It seems like the kind of movie that will at least be on Prime if it doesn't go to, like, Netflix. It also seems like the kind of movie that Netflix will buy.
Yeah, definitely. I always watch independent gay movies on Netflix. They have all of them.
They have a whole section.
They do! And I go on there and I love it.
That's good that someone is catering to that.
Yeah. Yeah. We stand.
Anything else?
No.
Most of the last 10 minutes was American Horror Story, so...
I just had to talk about it because after I saw Kim Kardashian in that trailer, I was like, what in the world is going on? I'm so confused. I didn't know Kim Kardashian was an actor. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. She hasn't acted in much, but we get, the guy who's in, like, every season lately.
But also, like, she's low-key playing herself, though.
Yeah.
So
is Emma Roberts.
I guess.
So if you don't like her, maybe you won't like the character, and it'll work because of that.
Yeah, if I'm supposed to hate her in
just
the
because she's the
show,
lead doesn't mean you have to like her. So, I think this episode is coming out after our Quelliot episodes.
Yes.
So coming forward, we still got our Harry
who?
Harry what? Harry Potter episodes still coming. And we still haven't recorded our Buffy episodes, but we will soon.
Yeah.
And then we're not sure what we're doing yet, because this schedule, we might get to Bly Manor.
Yes! Yes! We need to watch Bly Manor. I love Bly Manor.
And I'm going to see if I can talk you into doing a one-off about
like Red Elm Street 2.
Because I think it would be fun to talk about that.
Why not? No, I mean, we got lists. I got a list of all the gay things.
Yeah, we also need to do... This is good to do another new thing.
Yeah.
It can't all be about old ships.
Exactly.
People, even the fandom that are really into it, doesn't mean they're going to notice
We
us.
need to talk about Glee.
Yeah.
Excited for Glee. I love Glee.
Speaking of Ryan Murphy.
I love Glee so much. I don't think you like Glee.
We could go... No, I like Glee a lot. I kind of lost track of watching it regularly.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I was watching a lot of TV then, and it definitely went downhill.
Season 4, it went downhill. It went down the drain.
Even then, watching season 4 later, I was like, these characters are fine.
Yeah, it was okay.
But yeah, Ryan Murphy, he loves gay characters, even back as far as
I mean,
popular.
he is gay.
I know.
So.
But, like, even popular, one of the main characters was an out lesbian.
Yeah.
So, good for him.
Well, cool. There's gay characters galore for us to talk about. So we'll be here for a while.
There's always going to be more. I was trying to think of a joke. It's like they're breeding a lot, but I don't know how.
They're breeding. We're converting other people into our cult.
It's a weird thing. The breeders just keep having gay kids.
Mm.
So as long as they keep doing that, there will be gay shows.
Wonder what that's about. Something in the water. All right.
Some of that Heartstopper juice.
Yeah, exactly.
Turning everyone gay.
Yep.
The agenda is real.
It's not. We're joking.
That's a joke.
If you can't read tones, we are joking right now.
Anyway, that's all for Aristotle and Dante discover the secrets of the universe.
And discover they did.
Thank you for listening. 50v20 is a production of Lemming Drops Studio. You can find links to this show and more at lemmingdrops.com.
Subscribe to the show and review the show on your favorite podcatcher.
Join the Facebook group at Lemming Drops Studio Tour for updates.
Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at 50v20podcast. And send us gifts.
And support the show at patreon.com/lemmingdrops.
Bye.
You're staring hard. I can't take my eyes off you. 'Cause I realize the reason why we live this life you have breathed for is you're staring hard. I won't take my eyes off you. 'Cause I realize the reason why we live this life I worry before. I found you while dreaming of meteor showers.